Today, I'm so excited to be speaking with Erica Kate, based out of Chicago, Illinois. Erica, I'd love to start by asking you to share a little bit about yourself, your background, and your practice.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Cates. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in private practice in Chicago. Um, I focus on trauma, but I've been using Amelia virtual care for a lot of different scenarios. And I'm excited to be here today and chat with you.
Awesome, thank you. Maybe I'll start by asking, since you mentioned trauma, what are a couple of ways that Amelia's platform has been helpful to you as you work with your patients with trauma?
So I am a EMDR clinician, and I am so grateful to Amelia because when the pandemic started, it was actually really hard to continue to do EMDR. Most of my patient load is still remote, even with the pandemic kind of dying down, knock on wood. Folks are really kind of used to working this way now. And so Amelia Virtual Care has allowed me to do EMDR remotely. It has a lot of features that, quite frankly, make it easier to do it remotely than in person. You can speed up or slow down, for example, the bilateral stimulation in a way that you really can't with your hand. So that's really wonderful. And yeah, I've been using that with quite a few patients, and it's been really a wonderful experience.
Great. Are there any other scenarios where Amelia Virtual Care's platform has been helpful to you and your patients?
So, phobias for sure. I have a patient actually who, just to give you a sense of his fear of flying, has turned down jobs that require a lot of air travel. And we use the fear of flights module, was phenomenal. I was surprised, quite frankly, the level of reaction I got from him being in the virtual environment, right? I was like, "Well, we're not really on a plane." But for him, it was like we were on that plane. And this is something that before Amelia Virtual Care, I just couldn't treat this way, right? Because I wasn't going to get on a plane with a patient. There are PHI violations in doing that. There's a huge expense to doing that. So being able to walk him through that exposure from the comfort of our homes, we did this remotely, was just quite incredible. He took his first flight that he's taken in the last 2 years, and he told me it's the calmest flight of maybe his entire life. So that's been huge. It increases access. It makes it so much easier. So that's been wonderful. There have been new referrals coming in, quite frankly, for things that people really couldn't treat, right? It was a lot harder to treat before. They'd have to go to a specialized clinic. There are wait lists there to do in vivo exposures that now I'm like, hey, guess what? I can do this from home or in my office with the VR headset. And it's been really a huge relief for so many people. Including folks that have fear of heights, right? And I can kind of put on the goggles and there they are. They're at the top of a building. So that's been really wonderful as well. And then I guess the other great use I've had for Amelia, believe it or not, is with my teens. So teens can be just super hard to engage, especially young males, I find. And so there are a couple different virtual environments. So there's a school environment that I've taken a lot of my teens through, if for no other reason, just to get them talking, right? And all of a sudden, instead of therapy being this kind of dynamic where they're often being sent, right? They're being sent by parents. And here I am being like, tell me what's going on. And they're not really wanting to do that. This introduces just a whole different way to engage, right? They can be kind of in the virtual environment, looking around, chilling out, giving me feedback about the virtual environment. And before we know it, we're talking about really deep problematic things. One example, I just the other day used one of the mindfulness exercises with one of my teens, and the whole talk track is around like, don't judge, like, let's not judge ourselves, let that go. And he spent the whole time judging everything. right? And I was able to just point that out, like, hey, right? And it was all of a sudden this moment, he took a long pause and he was like, yeah, I'm really self-judgmental, right? Like that's all I do in my brain all day. And so an innocent exercise became an avenue into talking about some real insecurity that this young man has. Um, so those are some of the ways that I've been using Amelia virtual care that have just really been so tremendous for my patients and being able to really move the needle on their treatment.
Those are amazing stories. Thank you so much for sharing those. My last question is, what would your advice be to therapists who maybe have not tried VR before, um, but would be open to considering it? What would your advice be to them?
Um, it's not nearly as hard as you might think it is. The platform is really user friendly. Another big key thing for me that's been so helpful about Amelia Virtual Care, honestly, is the customer support. So if you do have a question or you not exactly sure that you're using the product exactly correctly, there is a team of people they're so kind, they'll pick up the phone, they'll walk you through it. I'm not particularly techie myself. I really not. And this has been super, super user friendly. So I would just say give it a chance, right? Just open yourself up, give it a chance. You'll be surprised how quickly you're like, hey, I can use this with this person and this person and this person. You think it's going to be, a really specific modality, but it's really not. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.